A very good morning, students. So, we were reading Act 4, Scene 1, Merchant of Venice, one of the most celebrated scenes in the history of English drama. This is that type of scene which you are reading now. Now, already Portia is there in the guise of Balthazar, in the guise of a man, accompanied by Nerissa, his attendant, Bassanio, Antonio, Gratiano, Duke, and all other people, especially those people who are related to the system of judgment, they are present at the court of Venice. Bassanio, he has already brought uh, almost 10,000 ducats, and he is ready to give more in case Shylock asks for it, in return for the life of his dear friend Antonio. Antonio is there, standing, bowed. Probably he is kneeling down on the stage, his shorts torn apart. He is bowed, crestfallen, and he is bowed with the weight of humiliation and the merchandise loss, because his merchandise ship was wrecked in the narrow straits that's in what is it called, the narrow channel in between England and France. English Channel, yes, there. Somehow a place called Goodwin's. This is a shallow place, and there the ship, merchant ship of Antonio, was wrecked. So he is now unable to pay the debt within the stipulated time mentioned by Shylock. That's why he is in the court. And according to the clauses of the bond, Shylock will be entitled to cut flesh, a pound of flesh from Antonio's body, especially as close to his heart as possible. And Antonio is merely waiting for that particular time when Shylock will put his sharp knife through the flesh of Antonio. Bassanio and Gratiano, they can't argue with Shylock, especially with proper reason. They cannot outwit Shylock. It is Portia who is there in Antonio's rescue, and she is conversing, arguing with Shylock. Let's begin. Bassanio is telling Antonio, I am married to a wife. Little bit, one stanza before I'm reading. Yes, when Antonio said that, Bassanio, you are here only to write my epitaph, only to witness my death. And don't be down with the feeling that I'm dying, but be happy that I am not dying indebted to someone, because I am here to pay the debt. Though I could not pay it in terms of money, but I will pay it through my life. Because when Shylock, beg your pardon, when Shylock will cut his knife, sharp knife, through my chest as close to my heart as possible in order to cut out a pound of flesh, in that time Shylock's knife might get thrusted an inch deeper and touch my heart, and right on that moment my heart will bleed and I will bleed to death. So through my life I will pay you your debt. So don't get afraid, don't get morose, don't lament over my condition. Be happy that I am here leaving this world without indebted to someone, and especially like one like Shylock. I'm not indebted to Shylock. Through my life I'm paying my debt. That's why this is not a matter for lamenting. And you, Bassanio, you are here only to write my epitaph, how I died. Tell it to your wife, how dearly I loved you, and how, in order to save you from the danger, I sacrificed my life. I'm married to a wife which is as dear to me as life itself. Bassanio is telling that my wife is as dear to me as my life is. But life itself, my wife, and all the world are not with me esteemed above thy life. So here, Bassanio is telling that my life, the life of my wife, the whole world, which means the wealth of the whole world, matters nothing to me if on the other side you are there. In order to save you, save your soul, I am ready to sacrifice everything that I am bestowed upon in this modern world, in this mundane world by God. I am ready to sacrifice everything. That's what Bassanio is telling to Antonio. And remember, this is a funny, though this is a very serious time, but that kind of sentence is a kind of funny statement, because Portia is ready there. Portia is waiting there in the guise of a man. She is listening every single word, every single letter uttered by his newly married husband Bassanio. And in front of him, though unknown to him, he is telling that, Antonio, I am ready to even sacrifice my own wife, whom I love better than my life itself, for you, for your life. In order to save you, I am ready to sacrifice all these things. The dearest thing in my life, I am ready to part with it. Are not with esteemed above thy life. That's what I told. I would lose all, I sacrifice them all, here to this devil to deliver you. Devil is Shylock. So I am ready to exchange everything, all those things which I value in my life, in order to save your soul from the clutches of that devil. The devil incarnate, that is Shylock. Your wife would give you little thanks for that if she were by to hear you make that offer. Now sarcastically, Portia is telling that had your wife been present here, she might have thanked you. Seeing and witnessing such kind of husband who is ready to take part, who is ready to sacrifice his wife in order to save the life of his friend. Gratiano, I have a wife who I protest I love. I would she were in heaven, so she could entreat some power to change this Curtis stew. Now Gratiano he has come forward. He is there to assert his view, and he is there to explain how much eager he is to save Antonio's life. This is not only Bassanio who is eager to save Antonio, but Gratiano too. And in order to express his eagerness, he says, in the tone of kind of hyperbole, exaggeration, he exaggerated his feelings by saying that I wish my wife had been in heaven, which means my wife might have died. And if that had happened, it would have been the most beautiful thing in the world. Because why? Because my wife would be in heaven, and she might have pursued God to save Antonio. So I need direct a connection with God right now, because this is the only thing or only power in this world that can save Antonio. Because we are at our wits' end. We can't outwit Antonio. The only person that can do it, that can make it happen, this is God himself. That's why Gratiano is telling, if my wife had been in paradise, she might have talked with God, might have discussed the matter with God, might have raised the condition of Antonio to God, and in turn God might have helped Antonio, might have saved him from a devil like Shylock. Now Nerissa is replying that 'tis well you offer it behind her back. It's a matter of fortune that your wife is not present there, because you are proposing something that includes the life of your wife. And how are you supposed to do this in front of her? Had she been present here, and when you would have returned home, your home would be, see how it is written, I wish would make else an unquiet house. Transferred epithet. House is not unquiet. This is the members who are living there. Those members cannot keep silence, because had Nerissa been present there in her own form, not in the guise of a man, then Nerissa might have raised the matter at her home when they would reach there. That, how are you? Who is unfeeling man, the Shylock or you? You are there to sacrifice my own life for the sake of your friend. What kind of husband have I got? So this type of conversation, argument, might have made that house unquiet, full of clamor. Shylock, these be the Christian husbands? I have a daughter. Would any of the stock of Barabbas, famous thief, had been her husband rather than a Christian? Now Shylock is shocked at the behavior of these Christian people. They are ready to take part with all those things that they value in their life, including the lives of their wives, for the sake of another Christian, their friend. Now Shylock is telling, my God, my daughter has eloped with a Christian, and I believe that Christian will follow the same path, same footprints left by these people. They will also sacrifice their own wife in order to save their friend. So what will be the future of my dear daughter who had eloped with a Christian? Will she be sacrificed for the sake of another Christian's life? So for that part and that moment, Shylock suddenly, for a glimpse of an eye, for a particular moment, he remembered his daughter, and he became really anxious, just like a father should be about his daughter. For a fraction of a second, his fatherly self surfaced, and right after that moment, it was vanished. It was again his hatred, his rage that has already shrouded his rationality takes over him. For a certain moment of time, there was a rays of hope. Silver rays penetrated into his mind, into his heart. He became covetous, longing. He felt longing for his daughter. But right in the next moment, it is his jealousy, it is his anger, his hatred, his revenge, which again turned him into a devil again. So now Shylock was telling that I should have married my daughter to a thief rather than surrendering it in the hands of a Christian. If such are their behavior, such are their vows, such fragile are their vows. Portia, a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine, and the court awards it. Sorry, I skipped some dialogue. Yes, Shylock also said, we trifle time, we are wasting time. I pray thee pursue sentence. Mr. Lawyer, I am appealing before you that without wasting time in futile argument, it is better that you directly come to the judgment. I am ready to hear the judgment from the judges, from the Duke. Portia is telling that a pound of flesh, a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine. Portia is declaring, asserting the judgment, saying that 1 pound of flesh which you are eager to cut from Antonio's bosom, it is yours. We entitle you to do it. The court awards it, and the law doth give it. Yes, of course, according to the law there is no other way. Shylock, most rightful judge, and you must cut this flesh from off his breast. I think Portia is telling the law allows it and the court awards it. And one more plea, and the thing that you want so eagerly, cut flesh from as close to Antonio's heart as possible, that permission is also given to you. You go and have your ambition fulfilled, have your revenge fulfilled, I should say. Most rightful judge, Shylock is elated. He is thinking that this is my moment of triumph. I have won the case, and I am standing here triumphant. I am about to cut flesh from Antonio's body. And my anger, my hatred, my long cherished, long nourished anger, long preserved hatred, and deep rooted revenge. This is the time for all these things to quench their thirst for Antonio's blood. They will be appeased once I cut flesh from Antonio's body. That is what Shylock is thinking. Portia, and you must cut this flesh from off his breast. The law allows it, I said it. Now Shylock is telling most learned judge the sentence, come, prepare. Prepare means she is telling Antonio that you prepare your bosom, I am coming. Portia, tarry a little, there is something else. So this is the moment, watershed moment in this drama, where things suddenly take a U-turn, a hairpin bend, and now the course of the drama is taking a new terrain. This will not follow the course which it had been following. Now it will flow through a new terrain, nothing which is favorable to Antonio. Later you will see it. Now the table has started to turn around. At first Shylock was there having his grip over everything. Now this is the moment when Shylock starts losing his grip. And Portia is also showing another shade of his character and his process of argument. The way she presented there in the beginning at the court, that was really shocking. We could barely think that she is there to save Antonio. Every single time he was there supporting Shylock's demand. But by doing so, he actually raised Shylock's hopes, took him to a very high position where Shylock already felt content. And now this is the moment he is taking out the ladder so that the fall becomes severe, and almost Shylock will have nothing to succumb to his injury. Let's see, we will see it, whether that will be there or not. Tarry a little, wait a little. There is something else this bond doth give thee here, no jot of blood. So what I can see in the bond, that you are allowed to cut flesh from Antonio's body, you are allowed to take flesh off from Antonio's bosom, but it is not written there whether in the process you are allowed to shed a single drop of Antonio's blood. That's where Portia found the flaw in the bond. This is something which all the male characters presented in the Venetian court failed to find, because they were also consumed with anger, feeling of superiority over the Jews. These are the things. So in case of Shylock, it is his hatred. In case of Christians, it is their feeling of superiority. And these are the things for both of them shrouded their rationality. They forgot to think rationally because they were consumed by their rage and feeling of superiority, respectively. The words expressly are a pound of flesh. Now the thing that I can see there, which is very much prominent and recurrent in the bond, that is a pound of flesh, without mentioning of how much blood you are about to draw from Antonio's body. But in the cutting it, if thou dost shed one drop of Christian blood, thy lands, thy goods by the law of Venice, confiscate unto the state of Venice. Yes, that's what was the law there. It was written there that if any alien, means these Jews who were not given citizenship, they were alien, taking some voluntary refuge there in Venice. If they make an attempt to hurt, or I should say jeopardize the life of any Christian people, in that case court will be entitled to confiscate their property, and if that tantamounts to attempt to murder, then that person might be hanged. So now Portia has successfully led Shylock the garden path by his witty argument. Shylock followed him, and now he is at his wit's end. He now realizes that all this thing was an ambush. I followed the red herring, the wild goose, and now this is the time when Portia successfully and very, very witfully lodging all her volley of questions to Shylock, which Shylock is completely unable to deter, because he has no obstructions, he has no armor in order to defend those volley of questions, those arrows of questions, those questions spearheaded by witty logic. Shylock cannot just prevent them. He has no such armor to prevent all these things. Now Portia is warning Shylock that you be careful, that it is written in the bond that you are allowed to cut a pound of flesh without shedding a single drop of blood. So be careful. It is not written in the bond that how much blood you might cause to draw while cutting flesh from Antonio's body. This is not written there. What is written there? Only 1 pound of flesh. That's what you are about to cut, nothing else, not a single drop of blood. So here Shylock finds him in an impasse. He is now wildly finding out a route to escape, to come out of that impasse. But we will see later that it will be merely futile for Shylock. All his attempts to come out from that impasse, to find a route through that impasse that will lead him somewhere else, that will never happen. Because Portia, he has blocked, occluded all the gateways by her witty judgment. That's what is happening there. Later, we will see how at last Shylock is stripped of his religion. All his properties are confiscated by the state, and how he is defeated with our astute Portia and her impenetrable logic. That we will see later in our next videos and through our online live classes. Till then, that's all for today, students. Ta-ta.